All right, guys, today I want to go ahead and react to this press conference from yesterday of Coach Taylor talking about training camp, where he feels like we're at in training camp. He talks about Friday night a little bit more and some other players stuff. So let's go ahead and get right into it. As always, I'll have the questions of everything the reporter is asking on the screen, enhanced audio of the reporter and of Coach. And I will be stopping as we go through to give my thoughts and opinions on what he's saying.
Bocce continue to progress, so he's in good shape.
Okay. You're able to watch the film. What else stood out from Friday night?
Well, I think the discipline things still continue to bother me, from the game, and that's always been a point of emphasis. But we got to really hammer it home. There's just too many things, pre-snap, post-snap, and things they control during the snap that set us back. Field position, and so again, those were the things that we're not about. And we're making that clear that that's got to improve going forward.
Why preseason is so important. As I always say, that's why we don't take one preseason game and then make judgments on everything. Like, oh yeah, the sky is falling now after one preseason game. Because preseason lets them go into training camp and say, okay, this is everything you messed up on. This is everything you did wrong. Now, today in practice, we're going to go through all those things and make sure that doesn't happen. And then preseason week 2, now you're going to show us that you learned not to do those things week 1. So, again, we're going to see a lot from this Falcons game on Friday.
Coach, were there any players that, on film look good that wouldn't show up in the stat sheets?
I think that there was good performances all around. I think there's a lot of guys you could highlight. I think Cody Ford had a good day on the offensive line. That was good to see. I think some of our interior defensive linemen did a good job. There was a collection of those guys. So again, there's guys that stood out in a lot of areas. I can't name them all probably, but overall there was some things to be pleased with.
Thank you.
Zac Jackson was repping at left tackle yesterday. Is he still in the mix with Jonah at right tackle?
Yeah.
Or is it just to get him some reps there?
Yeah, we'll continue to work, continue to look at different things up front, and really with all the positions. But it's still relatively early in the process. We've only played one game and got 2 left, and so there'll be some things that we can look at.
What's your plan, quarterback, the rest of the week? Are you going to rotate? Or?
Yeah, we'll keep rotating. The plan today would be for Trevor to get the first half of the game, Jake to get the second half. That's we've always planned on flipping those guys over the first 2 games, and those guys have done a really good job. I thought yesterday both of them had a really good practice, so that was good to see, and so we'll continue to work those guys in. They'll both get their opportunities with the ones over the course of the week.
Okay, so hold up. Okay, so they're going to keep going back and forth then with Trevor Siemian and Jake Browning, seeing how good they play. And again, it's not like they're playing with the technical starters, because technically the starting receiving core out there in the first half is the same as the second half, but you get to see how they adjust, early in the game till after, the second half of the game. Because obviously, first half, you want to try your best when you go out there and put up as much points possible. But the second half is when you really need to crunch down, make adjustments, and actually, focus up, right? And what we saw last week was that the first half, Jake Browning was the second most pressured quarterback in the NFL preseason week 1 last week in the first half. We gave up the second most pressures to Jake Browning. He was pressured at 68% of the time he was under pressure. Trevor Siemian was 38%, but that was the second half. So what we're going to see now is in this next game is in the first half, is Trevor Siemian 68% under pressure? Or was that Jake Browning with him moving around the pocket? Maybe he was taking too long to throw the ball, etc., right? So things we're going to learn from this second game, again, as Coach just said, with the rotation of quarterbacks.
You see Burrow practicing all this week? What is that time like?
Well, I'm just going to go back to what I said a couple weeks ago.
Higgins didn't practice in team portions against the Packers, but then was back yesterday. Is something going on injury-wise?
No, he's doing great. Yeah.
Are you planning to play many starters on Friday?
We'll see. We'll see. Haven't nailed it all down yet, and I'll communicate with them first and then let everybody know.
Probably also to do with how the players are feeling, because at the end of the day, let's say you go into Thursday, right? And he says, oh yes, I want to start this guy, right? then again, today's only Wednesday. So let's say you go into Thursday or Friday, and one of the guys is like, "Oh yeah, my not my hamstring, but my leg is kind of cramping up, my muscles cramping up," and now he's not out there, right? Now that he's not out there, guess what the media is going to ask 1,000 bazillion times the coach? Hey, is he hurt? What happened to him? Why is he not out there? Why is he not out there? Is there something that you, and there's going to be a million different story headlines. Coach Taylor said blank will be out there and he's not out there. Clearly, this indicates that there's a problem. And then you have all these analysts, talking all this about, hey, it looks like they might have more problems than they had before. So, makes sense.
Tougher to play Jamar, T, some of those guys when you know Burrow isn't going to play.
That's we take all the things into account, so that's part of the equation.
And would the next step for Burrow be a walkthrough participation? Is that something that could be the best way to ease him back in?
There's a lot of things that he's involved in behind the scenes that isn't necessarily at that practice, so we'll just continue to take that, throughout our own process.
Working with Jose, and trying to manage the load and trying to get a team ready to play, 60 minutes on September 10th.
Yeah.
And without playing much.
Yep.
How do you do that?
Yep. Those guys, for the guys that didn't play in the game the other day, Joey taxed them pretty good, the day of the game, Friday in the weight room. Where there's airdyne bike and ropes and sled pushes and all that stuff. And, that's part of what we have to incorporate into practice as well, because whether the guys play in these games or not, it's very limited action. So you want them to be ready for a 95-play game on both sides of the ball like we had against Pittsburgh last year. It can happen. And so that's part of what we've got to factor into our practices, starting today, going to Wednesday, longer drives, making sure that these guys feel that so that they're ready on mid-September.
I mean, you had the worst case scenario was a 95-play opener. Did you tweak anything this camp with that in mind, saying, hey, let's do this?
No, it's the weeks fall a little bit different than the preseason games last year. So there's a couple more days mixed in there. So I like where we're at. I like what we've got planned today, Wednesday, and next week to get those guys ready. I feel like we're in a good spot.
When you look at preseason film, Zach, are there different things you look for at different position groups?
Different. I think it's more what we want to accomplish to see what our guys are about. There might be certain schemes we want to utilize a little bit more on offense to get a look at a position group. Maybe not the whole, but just we want to see some guys do some certain things, so we'll ask them to do that. So there's some things that we incorporate going into the game and during the game that we ask of our offense and defense to make sure we get a great evaluation of more so particular guys than I'd say the group as a whole.
I guess
That's another thing that is really important because when it comes to preseason, right, a lot of times we watch and then our instant reaction is, oh my gosh, this team looked good, this team looked bad. But every single team / coach / owner / whoever, I'm not owner, but you know what I'm saying, GM, they have a different approach of what they want to see in that preseason, right? So some teams go into it, like, for example, the Packers last week. They want to see what they have in Jordan Love. They want to see what they have in that first team offense. They want to see, how they're going to look in the regular season, right? While for the Bengals, they're not trying to see how they look in the regular season in that preseason game last week. They're trying to see, okay, how does the positional group on the offensive line work? If I rotate this offensive line, how well are they going to perform? Are they going to perform at a level that I need to perform at? Is the defensive line going to perform at a level I need to perform at? Is the secondary good enough? How is the secondary doing? They're not worried about we need to go win the game and show off how great of a team we are. No, they know how great they are. So it's like every single team has a different, perspective of what they're doing in preseason. So that's why, again, a lot of time with preseason, you can't really take much away from it because the Bengals go into every preseason game right now. They care about winning, but that's not their focus. Their focus is finding out their positional groups and what they can do the best with their positional groups.
the reason I ask is, so many people believe, the offensive line and the offensive linemen themselves believe that that's a unit that has to work together as one, whereas maybe if you're looking at cornerback play, maybe that's more individual. Do you look at it that way? Like when you're evaluating your offensive line?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, there's certain units that are very closely tied together, the offensive line being one, and it's one of the reasons why they don't like being singled out individually for good things. They like to just be grouped together. But I think that's one example of a group that's typically tied together.
It's helped DJ Turner just hit the ground running and make a couple big plays every day.
I think he's approached things the right way. I think Chuck Burke has done a great job with him. And so I think he's just really embraced the opportunities he's gotten. His speed and his quickness have really shown up. And so, again, he'll just continue to be incorporated in the defense in any way we can. And again, it's like stacking consistent days. Just because you've had some good weeks doesn't mean that we want you to hit that wall or that brick wall in training camp. So I think that's one thing that we'll continue to push through. But he's been a bright spot. He's done a really nice job.
You need Jonah to see Jonah at right tackle in preseason games.
Do I need to see it? No, but again, we'll keep considering what we want to do with all of our guys.
Joe Burrow, the last couple of years, has kind of dealt with things going into the season. How is it, and kind of maybe through the season as well, how has that been like, in terms of the game plan, getting him ready, knowing what he can and can't do, and how do you kind of manage that over the course so it feels as good as you possibly can?
It's all I know, so it's our normal rhythm. To be truthful, that's all that I know at this point of training camp. Anytime you watch old training camp footage, it's always other quarterbacks early on repping plays that we're showing our guys that, maybe we worked on last year. So that's kind of been our normal, and that's the reality of it. So I can't really say my adjustment would be for him to practice the whole training camp. And so next year, we'll have that conversation.
But even as he gets into the season, maybe the soft tissue thing, maybe even lingers, and something that you guys would have experience with. How do you kind of manage that throughout a game week and until he gets ready from a play calling standpoint, all that? How do you go about that?
We'll have to approach that when it gets here.
What can the growth of guys like Osai and Sample do for the defensive line and the sack numbers and everything like that?
Bring energy. First of all, I think Cam's role can be a little bit different. Cam gets mixed in a couple different position groups, and you need glue guys like that maybe aren't a starting role necessarily, but man, you're depending on them sometime anywhere from 25 to 50 snaps in a game. And Joseph comes in there at that end position, and you expect him to bring juice. They need to be able to help you on first, second down. They need to be able to rush the passer when they don't play as many snaps as Trey and Sam. So I think those guys embracing their roles and understanding it and giving us what we need in those key moments is what we expect from those role player type guys.
You, like a lot of your defensive linemen starters played a ton of snaps last year. How much does it help the growth and the youth and the emerging guys you kind of have across the line? Yeah,
it's good to have depth. It's good to have guys who have been here and again, understand the role and the value of that role. And we also got, 4 starters that like to play. They like to play a lot, and it's hard to keep them off the field.
On further review, what did you think about Chris Evans and Chase Brown?
I thought there was good things from both of them. I think, for Chase, the protection, as a young back is going to continue to show how valuable that is and necessary it is. I thought there was good things from him, and I thought there was good things from Chris as well. He had the opening tackle on the kickoff, did some good things on offense. And so, I thought overall it was a step in the right direction for both those guys.
Does Travion have a shot this week?
We'll see. We'll keep taking it week to week with him.
That makes sense. Today, what do you plan on doing at running back with Joe not being here?
Get those guys reps.
How different would an indoor practice be from outdoor?
Field space, confined field space.
You have to cut stuff out because
No, it's the individual's infected by it the most. A special teams period when the quarterbacks are working, the O-line's working, D-line's working. That's the kind of things that get affected when you're inside. Individual, you're a little bit more on top of each other. But other than that, once you get into team reps, we use one field. We're on field 2 or field 3, and so there's no difference there once you get into that period. So just a little more condensed when you're doing the individual portion of things.
Have you seen as much production and progress, I should say, from the string of padded practices that you had hoped?
Yeah.
It's been a long run of padded practices. Right?
Yeah, it's going to get longer. Yeah, but that's what We don't go 3 days in a row. We go 2. And when we go 2, we want it to be physical. We want it to be taxing. And then you get that day off and then we get back at it. So, really it hasn't fallen where it's kind of been a 2 and a day off and a 2. That's going to come next week. This week it's just 2 on, 1 off, 1 on, go play the game. So, overall we ask them just to give us your all. It's going to be hot. It's going to be full pads. We're going to hit. And then we're going to take care of you on that 3rd day. And I think that's a trade-off those guys like.
Such a great philosophy at the end of the day. I mean, you look at so many different training camps. The Ravens are a great example of it, where so many injuries happen in training camp. I mean, we are thankful and blessed. I'm going to knock on wood right now for that we do not have that many injuries in training camp. Yes, we did have Burrow with the calf, but he's going to be fine. And other than that, Chuck Sizzle did have his shoulder problem. And then Terrell Basham, Travion Williams. But other than that, no problems at all. And again, like I said, that is very, very thankful. Because there are teams that have 5, 6, 7, 10 injuries in training camp. I mean, the Steelers alone, they lost one of those 7th round picks that was like a star corner. They lost him for the season in training camp. So we've been very thankful. And a lot of it, again, as Coach said here, it comes down to that philosophy of, 2 days, 1 day off. 2 days, 1 day off. So you're going to put in 2 hardworking days, push your body, give us your all, and then you get 1 day off to recover, relax, and then bam, you're back at work again. It keeps the system so you're avoiding injuries and avoiding problems. I love it.
As a head coach, when you have someone's off-field situations kind of now, affecting the practice schedule, is there a sense of frustration, or is there something that you just have to manage?
It doesn't affect any of our practice schedule.
Coach, how much do you appreciate having the same coordinator since you came here? They know what you want.
Yeah.
And when it's time to make those decisions, you guys are already lockstep.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that kind of go unspoken and taken for granted probably on my end. I think that's more just the pace of training camp and our expectations. There's less that needs to be said. I think it'll continue to come up in game situations that we're all on the same page. It's just a quick one word or quick glance, or we're on the same page that way, as opposed to, if you do bring in somebody new, you have to educate them on some of the things that have happened here in the past. And I was just, talking earlier, and I think some of the in-game situations that are rarer than others, we've all experienced them together over the course of 5 seasons. And so we've all learned from them together, as opposed to taking someone and educating them on what we've been through. It's, again, some of the unspoken stuff.
Cheeto's still pushing you hard to get in there.
Yeah. I mean, Cheeto's doing everything he can, and it's just us purposely limiting him to make sure that, you don't push and have a setback. And so things have been positive with Cheeto, and we'll keep finding ways to.
In all honesty, a lot of times the players will be like, listen, I want to go out there and play. I want to go out there and contribute. And sometimes trainers / medical staff has to be like, listen, chillax, relax, step back. We know what's best for you here. We're just not going to push you at that point. Now, I will say overall wise, I do agree with Coach when it comes to that's why I love this defensive line especially. And the defensive line so far has been doing really great in training camp, is because they have so much, time together, right? They have that communication together where they've been playing together for multiple years. And that goes across the board, all of the guys on this defensive line. So it's more or less and you get that from, again, playing for a very long time together. And especially in Louis' defense. So you already have the defense. You all know the defense. You all know what you're doing. That's why I was so scared with the new secondary with safeties this year. But at the same time, even though we do have, technically new safeties, think about it. Jordan Battle is new, yes, but Tyson Anderson, he's been on this defense for the last 1.5 to 2 years, at least. Dax Hill has been on this defense for the last year, right? So it's we do have some new guys, but a lot of these guys, they know this system. They've been here, the communication, and even the newer guys, they're getting that communication down, and they're picking up very quickly to help us out to go through the transition process very quickly. So awesome to hear from Coach as always. Love Coach. Guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hooday. Peace out.